Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Brandon. Thank you for joining me once again. And today I wanted to talk about a subject that I've been asked many times to speak about. And so this is going to be kind of a long video because it's about my personal history with the devil, as well as I'll probably end up talking about other spirit beings that I've met. And it's not a small subject. It's a subject that requires quite a bit of context. So this is part of the reason why I haven't done this video yet, is it's bound to cross a lot of boundaries. I'm bound to trigger a lot of people in this. So I think that's where I'd like to start, is with the triggering. So first off, I want to address Christians. Specifically, I don't want any of your comments. If you feel like you need to leave them anyway, that's fine. But all of these negative comments that Christians always leave me, they are so one-sided, and they lack I guess I should just say that Christians, y'all mostly come across as being very scared of spirit, very like superstitious. You know, you're a very superstitious group as a whole. You know, that you believe that the victory is already won in Christ, which I believe. And but that God gave us gifts that we're not supposed to use, like my ability to communicate in the spirit world, which started. I wasn't even really speaking to anybody until I was like 5 years old, you know, and before then I was speaking in the universe. I lived in a cedar grove. And there was a cedar grove in my backyard, and I was raised in a very poor family. We lived in a shack, and both of my parents worked. I was being left alone from I think I was barely 4 years old by the time I was being left at home alone with my 5-year-old brother. For us to fend for ourselves for the day, because both my parents needed to work. And so I spent a lot of time alone, and I spent a lot of time with my own voice, which is part of why I didn't want to speak as a child, because the voice that was coming out, I wanted to make sure that it matched my internal voice. So actually, when I started speaking, nobody could really understand me. They said I spoke with a very strange, almost British dialect. So I knew my own voice, even though I wasn't speaking out to people. And I also, because I could see all of these problems in the world and in my family, and spiritually I could see these problems within people. I've written about this, so my stories are around. I'll try and keep this video as short as possible, but I could see certain problems, so I began praying and communicating with God at a very young age, asking for help at a very young age. So I found myself a lot of times speaking with the spirits of the birds that would fly by, the crows, specifically. Crows and the cedar grove, the spirit of the cedar. And I had this little tree, and it was an apple tree, so I would talk with, the spirit beings that govern the physical world. So spirit communion for me is no big thing. It's just something that I'm adept at. And I don't have any real shamanistic training to speak of from others, but all of my initiations in life have come through God. And so I'm not in any way affiliated with any groups of either Satanist or Masons or any of that kind of thing, because you can't serve two masters. So I can't serve my Creator and serve men at the same time. That's impossible. So I serve my Creator alone. So I'm saying all of that. I'm glad I came back to that, because the Christians that are always addressing me are telling me something that God is not telling me. And so that's why I don't care what you people say. I'm not a Christian, because Christians don't really believe in anything or stand for anything, or they don't even follow their own commandments, and they don't love me like they love their brother. And basically, what I would say to any Christian, and what I have said to a lot of Christians, is, what does it mean to you people that we were commanded to do greater things than Christ? Like, what does that mean to you? Any of you? Are any of you doing greater things than Christ? Someone who could, walk on water, perform miracles, expel spirits, But that's what I thrive and strive to be, is who God created, not who the world created. So, and all along the way, the Christians have been the biggest ones to persecute me. That's a fact. So I've been dealing with you guys for a long time, telling me I need to be in church, because you don't understand that I'm in church right now, And I've been dealing with this for a long time, ever since I went on a vision quest, and all I carried into the woods every day, I was fasting and praying only with a Bible. When I was 19, 20 years old, that was all I did, was live in the woods, fasted and prayed. I'd come out for food every now and again, and I would come sometimes to missions to get food and stuff, and which I was very grateful for. But I would always get persecuted by these Christians and being told, oh, well, it's important to fellowship. And I'm like, well, my family is crazy. How am I supposed to fellowship with crazy people? When y'all were saying I was crazy for being out in the woods and fasting and praying. And so basically, I've been persecuted for doing everything that the prophets, including Jesus Christ, did. I'm not saying he was a prophet. Perhaps he was, but the Son of God, wasn't fellowshipping with people like that. And, his fasting and praying in the woods for 40 days and 40 nights there was no body around. But the entire book of Revelations, which, if you're reading the Bible for spiritual guidance, the correct way to read the Bible is from Revelation to Genesis. If you're reading it for physical guidance, the correct way to read the Bible is from Genesis to Revelation. But all these people did was spend time communing in the spirit world. Like, was Jesus sinning when he communed with Satan, when he spoke with Legion? You didn't get the whole story, in the Bible. The Bible's a very short book. I could write a book that length if I named every detail on this drive through the mountains. Easily, I could write a book that length, I'm on one little drive, through one little mountain range. So the details were left out and the story is intact. That being said, everybody in the Bible was doing spirit communion, was talking with angels, angelic allies, were speaking with, there's just countless stories, who was really influencing what. But I don't want to get into too much of that outside of saying that even Christ spoke with Satan, sat and had a conversation with him, a long conversation, and was tested a number of times. The entire book of Revelation is revelation. Where was that happening? You know? So I don't want to hear from you people, really anymore in life. I don't want to hear from any Christians ever until you get your own houses in order. You know, root out the child molesters in your own house. You know, root out the liars and the lukewarm faithists in your own communities. You know, spit the people out of your mouth that are, that are lukewarm, and get to it yourselves. Don't come to me telling me what you think I should do, unless you feel like that's what you need to do. But I don't care, personally. I know what I'm doing. I've been on this path for a very long time, and really nothing you guys say to me adds up, makes any sense. You're not trying to have the minds of children, are you? You're trying to have the minds of adults who know, or people who know, when most of you just have been on the path for a very short amount of time. I married my Creator. A great wind came down from the heavens. This was in the late 2000s. This was in like 2007 or 8, because my faith was so sure even then. And that was after going through loads of prayer, of communion, of fasting, of seeking visions and receiving them so that I could keep going in this life and complete the job that God put on my heart in the beginning of this life. So that's been my main prayer through all of this life, is that I could complete the dream that God put in my heart, because I came with a program. I was programmed upon entering this life like a little computer, and all I've ever wanted was to end needless suffering in this world and create heaven on earth. And that's all I've ever wanted. That's all I ever worked toward. That's all I've ever done. So I'm going to go into now my relationship with the devil. And I say relationship because everything in this universe is in relationship to everything else, because it's one verse. This whole universe is one body, and that's the body of God. So I don't care how Christians and stuff look at this. I'm going to speak how I want to speak. And so now I don't want to speak anymore about Christians. So I don't know when the beginning of my relationship really with Satan was, but when I perfected my art to the point where what I had wanted to create was being created, and I had wanted to create art that was so powerful and beautiful that it would change the world, that people would have essentially like no power, nothing in themselves other than to buy my art and bring my art into their world, and that beauty would change their lives and then change the world. And so I wanted to influence the world through art by creating something that was so undeniably beautiful that it would take over the world, essentially. And so I did that. I created something that was undeniably beautiful, and I mixed a number of different art forms together, and I created a very, very powerful medium, which I still have not seen duplicated. So when I did this, I was approached by one of the echelon within the art world. I was living at Charleston, South Carolina at the time, and there was this dude. He's from Myrtle Beach. His name's Peter. We'll call him Peter No. Just because. If he sees it, he'll know who he is. So Peter and I developed this relationship. We met through my aunt, and because she had a piece of his art in her kitchen, and he was a stained glass artist, and I'm sure he still is. So Peter and I used to talk a lot about God, and that was really all we talked about. And this one night, he asked me, was I going to, by then we had some mutual friends. He asked me if I was going to this dude Andrew's party. And I was like, yeah, I might go. He's like, yeah, well, you should go. And he said, listen, if you have, somebody's going to make you an offer. And just do it. It might not seem right, but it's right. Just go with it. And know that God's love is with you no matter what you do. And God's love is with you, and you're being protected. Just when somebody makes an offer to you tonight, go with it. So I go to the party, and I was approached by a young man who was gay. He seemed to be a little younger than me. I was in my mid-30s at the time, I think. Let's see, this would have been around 2009. Yeah, so like my mid to early 30s. And I was approached by a young gay man, and like a sexual approach. And I just told him, like, no, I'm good. I'm not gay. I don't want to be gay, and I don't want to have a gay experience. And so then I come home, like it was that night or the next day, and Peter was like, oh, so you turned the offer down? And he was like, that's okay. There's going to be another offer. And I went to, the same person was having like a series of parties. And I went to the party again, and I was made an offer. It was an offer by a transvestite. And it was just, it was like the type of offer that was just like, just let me give you a blowjob. And that kind of, it was a weird offer, but it was like, I'm really attracted to you, and you're so attractive, and you're so beautiful, you have such a beautiful spirit. Let me just, suck your D, right? And I turned it down, knowing what it was. So let's take one step back. Peter told me before the first meeting that I was going to be made an offer, and I was to accept it. And when I accepted it, money would be my last worry in the world, that I would never worry about money again. And Peter was aware that I was raised really poor. And so this is how these things work, I guess. And so by this time in my life, I had spent years being celibate and just not being corruptible through sex. So sex was an easy thing for me to turn down. And, well, especially gay sex. But even not gay sex, is very easy for me to turn down, even now. So I went home after the second meeting, and Peter was like, well, there's one final offer. And the final offer that he made was for me to give him permission to kill my best friend. My best friend's name is Yakanan. my best friend at the time, that was his name, Yakana. He was a Geechee Gullah brother from the Sea Islands of the Carolinas. So a Seminole, basically. And when he said, you know, you won't have to do anything, you won't have to kill him yourself, you'll have no blood on your hands, we will take care of everything, but you need to give your cosign to this, just say the word, right? And I was like, no way. And he said, well, you know, you'll never receive a penny in the art world. You'll never make a penny in the art world. And I said, well, if that's the case, then so be it. We'll see in the long run who has the high ace. Because I'm already, at this time, married to my creator. So I don't believe that I need any of these initiations from men, because I know that the creator of the universe is my father, you know? So after this happens, is when I start to face-to-face meet the devil in the spirit world. But it's face-to-face. We have spirit bodies. Those bodies have eyes, right? And if you can see, you can see. And so after this is when I began to meet Satan myself. But these beings are like representatives. So they come, Satan speaks to people where people can hear Satan. So throughout all this time, I've chosen to stay away from things that Satan has touched, people that Satan has touched, and, you know, items and money and places that are strong in the satanic energy. I've chose to stay away from them. Well, after this incident of having the 3 chances to sell my soul for riches, which is what it was a compromise ritual to see if I would compromise myself, because everybody's led into these upper echelons of these communities, as far as I can tell, all have to go through these initiations. So after going through that and staying away from that energy, Satan began to visit me. And it was very strange, but how it happened is that Satan began to show himself to me, and he always shows himself to me like he's usually wearing a hat. It's like his whole face is in shadow, almost like he has a type of a mask on, or like his face is sort of hollow. Like there's a world kind of behind what I see. What I see is like a face, but behind the face is a whole world. And he usually has like a hat on. I don't know. It looks like a 40s hat or something like this. And I don't know. I don't really know genres that way. It could be 30s, could be 20s, could be 1800s. I really have no idea. But he's always wearing like a kind of old style hat, and his eyes look hollow. And he began to come to me after not selling my soul, and he approached me very respectfully, in a way like telepathically, which is how the spirit world all speaks to. We all in the spirit world speak telepathically. And telepathically he was telling me, I know that you're not corruptible. I know that what you stand for, and I guess you could say, it was like he was saying, I respect that. I respect where you're coming from. And he's like, I'm gonna look after you because I respect you. And I was like, in the beginning I was like, I don't care, you're spooky and I don't care. Just like, just kind of like go away in a way, because I was still kind of scared by this presence, and in a way scared, but it was very respectful. And what happened in time after that is I found out what he meant by "I'm going to look after you." So he started visiting me when I would meet certain people, and he would tell me, "Don't mess with this person, they're with me. Don't mess with that person, they're with me." And he still, to this day, shows himself when I'm around certain people, and he's like, they're with me, right? And so I began to really piece together, what is this Satan guy, right? Or what I perceive as being a guy. Because some people talk about Satan and Santa Claus, right? And I started to really look at this thing like, well, what is Satan? What is this being? Why is it that this being would be acting not like on my team, but sort of like a distant ally, like someone, if you were going to go through the hood at night, like someone who gives you like a hood pass, and you can walk and just mind your own business, stay on your path, and you can get where you need to go, right? Kind of like that type of a feeling. Not any like mixing. It's not like me and Satan mix our energies together like an ally would kind of cooperate like a teammate. It was a different kind of energy. It is a different kind of energy. So I started to look at the Satan and Santa thing, and I started to really see this whole making a list, checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty or nice. And that energy is very similar to what Satan's energy is. Satan's energy is very much a tempter. If you can be tempted, you will be tempted. But the thing is that if you fail or fall to temptation, then your name goes on a list. And there's no way in hell you can, through any corrupt means, in this day and age, time, if you will, space, there's no way in hell you can erase this through any devious means. There's no casting sins onto other people anymore, even though that's what the bad guys of the world have been working to do for so long, is cast their sins onto others, get others to eat their sins, so-called. That time, that space is over. There is no more of that now. And this making a list and checking it twice thing is what Satan is here to do. Satan knows something that Satanists don't know. People who worship Satan or beg Satan for gifts, they don't know, but they are all being tricked by Satan. Satan knows what these people don't know, which is that he works for the Creator. Satan knows that who he works for. Satan knows who the master is. Okay? So these spooky Christians want to say, oh, Satan is God of this world or the ruler of this. No, not according to Satan, he's not. Satan might be the God of a world, but that is a fallen world, and Satan is doing his job. And that job is to drag everybody to hell who deserves it, because you're not acknowledging the Creator in all things, and you're corruptible. You can be corruptible by things, by power, right? People say everybody's corruptible by power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, I guess that's my job in this world in a way, is to prove that that's not the case. Not everybody's corruptible. Not everybody is so empty, that they feel like something can fill them from the outside in. Because when you truly know who you are, and you really know who your creator is or what your creator is, you know, what power is in the creator who lives within your heart, then these things, corruption doesn't even look tempting. You know, someone who knows the value of maintaining the mind of a child is not corruptible, because especially as an adult, you know the value in it because you know what you had to go through to get to the mind of a child, what you had to uncover from on top of the mind of a child, and what diligent work it is to do that. So that's what I found Satan is. Satan knows who Satan works for. Satan knows the creator. And everybody who's afraid of Satan, to an extent, are subject to harassment and hopefully not, but possibly corruption. And I think that's all I wanted to say was this is my personal experience with Satan. Satan comes to me and tells on all of his children, which means that everybody who thinks that they are getting something from Satan, they are all in the trick bag, right? The bag on Santa's, bag. That's what everybody is essentially, being put into a trick bag who believes in Satan. So that's the lesson, the morin of the day. And I hope this is helpful to people, Christians and everyone else. I understand that people say that these things are archetypes or whatever. I just don't care what people say anymore, because most of what everybody says, they heard from somebody else. And so most of the things that you'll hear me talk about are my firsthand experiences. So that's why I don't care about people's opinions, because opinions are so cheap. I myself probably have, I don't know, in the realm of 100,000 opinions, depending on how long the conversation is. Maybe in the billions. Who knows? But then there's billions of people. So opinions are very, very cheap. They're not a big commodity, right? So I don't care what other people's opinions are, because more than half the time I don't even care what my opinion is. Because who cares what my opinion is? Why should I care what my opinion is? So if I don't care about my own opinion, I definitely don't care about yours, because let's talk about something more important than opinions, judgments, these kind of things, what I read in a book. Okay, so it's a holy Bible. Okay. But people who are profane need a book to tell them how to be righteous. The mind of a child, if that's what's required to get into heaven, the mind of a child doesn't require knowing how to read, right? Or wrong. Whatever your opinion is what it is. But make it make sense, people. Let's get beyond the realm of having a pure blind faith and to having a faith that makes sense, because it's the only thing to believe in. We have intelligence for a reason. We have this galactic intelligence, this higher intelligence for a reason. But we have these capacities to speak telepathically, to commune with spirits, and use discernment for a reason. I never speak to any spirit, without qualifying them first, saying basically, who are you and who do you serve? What do you serve? What are you doing? And all of the high-raised angels that I've ever met are always very proud of me. They never are upset. No righteous spirit being has ever been upset that I question who they are, where they came from, and who do they serve. And then I watch the quality of energy, and I make sure that they are who they say they are, because discernment is key. The devil is in the details. But that's only if you can have the wool pulled over your eyes. It's not because the devil's a bad guy. It's because the devil is a tool in the hands of our almighty creator. And if you don't see it that way, great. I don't care. I'm still going to say what I'm here to say because it's my experience. I'm not going to preach from some book, because what I learned in a book, I don't really know. What I know through experience, I know firsthand, for sure. So good luck out there, everybody. Stay strong, stay tough, stay mentally aware. Keep your consciousness rising. Keep your conscience rising. Right? Live to what you believe in. You know, make sure that you don't tolerate people walking through your home with dirt on their shoes if you want a clean temple. You know, if you're trying to create a clean temple, if you want to create heaven on earth, don't let hell into the door. Don't. So that's the wisdom of the day, my people. I love you all, you know, including and especially the Christians. You know, I hope you can feel where I'm coming from. All of that preamble to this teaching to the Christians is all to disarm the Christians from their own self-righteousness. Because, you know, it's the pride in the Christians that's killing them. They can't even make things make sense. Where is the mind of a child in you? You know, to where you can just not know. You know, I don't know, but what I do know is so small, and what I don't know is so big. But what I do know is that my Creator is almighty. What I do know is that God wants what's best for me, beyond what I even know of as best. You know, what my conception of what's best for me might be tiny compared to what my Creator wants for me. So I want to be who the Creator created, not who the world created. And wow, what an adventure opens up. So the mind of a child is a precious thing. You have to nurture it, but it's still alive within each one of us. We have to uncover it. We have to get rid of everything that's on top of it. So, and if you can see it in a certain light, you'll see that Satan is an ally, just like the rest of God's creation. I understand the doctrine of the spiritual war, because when I came into all this in the Vision Quest, that's when I found out what spiritual warfare was all about. But from where I stand now, it looks like the war is over. You know, I'm seeing the way that the whole demonic world is working against the people of this world that are evil. The whole demonic world is rolling over on the people who are into being possessed. I'll talk more about this in the future. One of my future videos, I'll talk about my meeting with Legion, how I met Legion and what Legion taught me. And it's very much in these same veins. So take care, my people. May God's love show the way to you all, and light the way for our future. So, peace, everybody, and I'll see you soon.